Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. This is Joel Perez here for your WWE Backlash 2018 preview and predictions. And ladies and gentlemen, I come to you a frustrated person because last night I literally had the perfect preview and predictions. Every little detail that I wanted to include was in that video. I was on my game. A lot of funny, witty little comments. Everything was promoted correctly. I told you guys to go check out all the other content, subscribe, this, that, the next thing. And it turns out that the entire time, my microphone was muted. And I was at the 40-minute mark last night making this video. And that is when I realized I literally had one take, and everything was going fine. Usually there's a couple takes, and I have to cut it up a little bit, but nope, one take, everything was going perfect, and I realized at the 40-minute mark that it's truly going very, very wrong. So this is take 2 for me, and of course take 1 for you guys. Hopefully this comes off as well as it did last night, because I'm definitely hoping that this video does well, and I'm hoping that most of you guys go and check out my Backlash review coming this Sunday, despite the fact that realistically, there's not much to care about for this pay-per-view, and I'll tell you why. And it's because this pay-per-view falls at the ass end of 2 of the most major pay-per-views that you can argue, you're gonna see all year in the WWE. And that is, of course, 1, WrestleMania 34, which is the biggest pay-per-view of the year every single year. But that was on April 8th. April 27th came around, and you can pretty much argue that this show might have been even bigger or more heavily promoted or more important than WrestleMania 34, because, of course, the WWE received a reported $200 million from the Saudi Arabian government to go over there and pretty much put on a super show in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, King Abdullah Sports Center, and they did exactly that. 7 championship matches, Styles versus Nakamura for the WWE Championship, Reigns versus Lesnar in a steel cage, Cena versus Triple H, the 50-man Royal Rumble match itself. It was a big event, and on top of that, 1 week after WrestleMania, you had this superstar shakeup. You had this entire superstar shakeup. So after all this crap happening in the WWE, all these Raws, Smackdowns coming out of WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania itself, the greatest Royal Rumble, and not even a week and a half later, we have to endure the Backlash pay-per-view. What do you expect to see at this pay-per-view? Who is going to care about this pay-per-view? And WWE is marketing this as the greatest Royal Rumble ever, or not the greatest Royal Rumble ever, the first ever dual-branded pay-per-view ever. That's how they're marketing this. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with that statement? Holy crap. Well, I'm guessing WrestleMania was Raw and NXT Superstars, was Smackdown and NXT Superstars. That wasn't a dual-branded pay-per-view. No. My memory is jogging me. It's failing me here. Color me pink if Royal Rumble wasn't a dual-branded pay-per-view. Color me red if you mean to tell me that Survivor Series didn't have Raw versus Smackdown talent going head-on-head with each other. But yeah, that wasn't the first ever dual-branded pay-per-view. No, none of that. Those weren't dual-branded pay-per-views. Those people were lying to you if they said that those were dual-branded pay-per-views. What is a dual-branded pay-per-view if this is the first ever Raw and SmackDown dual-branded pay-per-view? Please, WWE, tell me. That is their marketing ploy for this pay-per-view. And let me tell you, if you expect anybody to fall for that, you have to be missing brain cells. You have to be one of the most absolutely ridiculous, closed-minded people that I've ever met. Whoever the hell assembled this marketing ploy to interest people in the greatest Royal Rumble is an absolute buffoon. Absolute buffoon. This is not the first ever dual branded pay-per-view. But there is something to be said about all WWE pay-per-views going forward, including both Raw and Smackdown superstars. And we're going to go on a little bit of a rant about that because, of course, we did cover this news very, very intensely when all the rumors were coming out that this was going to be the case. And now we're officially here. And it's going to be interesting how this is going to impact the mid-card of the WWE. And to get into this very shortly here, I mean, realistically, your mid-card, guys like, I don't know, Finn Balor and Elias, they might not get all the opportunity to shine. Andrade Cien Almas, guys like that, they're not going to get all the opportunity to shine. Another one, Shelton Benjamin, that they realistically should. They're not going to get that opportunity. And it's because now WWE, the focus is to get the biggest matchup on these shows. And that's absolutely ridiculous because you don't need to be going all out for these shows like, I don't know, Backlash and Extreme Rules and Payback. Who cares? Who cares? Now, on those pay-per-views like that, instead of giving these stars some time to actually wrestle, because that's what these pay-per-views are, a place where you have an outlet to actually wrestle, where you wouldn't on TV because it's littered with commercial breaks and all this propaganda that WWE loves to put on your television, right? So TV isn't the best place to have a matchup. The best place to have a matchup is on the pay-per-view. Now, guys like Shelton Benjamin, guys like Elias might not exactly have won that time. Two, they might not even be booked on the show to begin with. So that's a problem. You're eliminating a lot of your mid-card because besides the Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship and whatever titles are being defended that WWE chooses to defend on these pay-per-views, now there's no room for grudge feuds. There's none of that. Perfect grudge feud, perfect example right now, Sasha versus Bayley. You look at that feud and you say, well, that's a pay-per-view or a matchup I'd love to see on pay-per-view. That would be great, especially if it was over the Raw Women's Championship. Well, the Raw Women's Championship scene is being occupied by Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. So there's no room to put Sasha and Bayley. That's on the back burner, and that's very unfortunate because Sasha and Bayley are probably two of the most talented in-ring performers. Sasha Banks especially, one of the most talented in-ring performers you have in your entire company. So that's a shame. And that's an opportunity that this Backlash pay-per-view eliminates from, or this dual branded pay-per-view concept going forward. All pay-per-views are going to be dual branded. That's something that eliminates from now going on. So that is absolutely ridiculous right there. I am absolutely in worry that this is going to kill a lot of WWE's mid-card. So WWE really has to find a way to cycle their talent appropriately, especially now with all the talent that's on SmackDown Live and even Monday Night Raw for that matter. You're going to have to develop a system just like NXT where you don't necessarily see every guy every single week. So these guys won't, one, get burnt out, two, so every person could be on television at least somewhat in these coming months. So that's my opinion on that. Do I think WWE is going to be able to execute on that? Hell no. They're not going to be able to execute on that. And it's very simple why they're not going to be able to execute on that, because how have they executed on everything else? How have they executed on the brand split? How have they executed on booking storyline, continuation? None. They've failed at all of that. And I don't expect them to book their television correctly either. So that's my opinion on that. WWE, I don't see them doing any good. I don't see them doing any good. And as far as this pay-per-view goes, like I said, it's gotten the ass end of everything that we've seen in this past month of April. In the vicinity of a month, we're going to be seeing AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the third time at this pay-per-view. I find that absolutely ridiculous. But that is besides the point, because on top of this, the other thing to discuss here is going to be the quality of this pay-per-view. And pretty much when it comes to talking about the build and what the quality of this pay-per-view is going to be, the quality of this pay-per-view is going to be absolutely dependent on the matches that we see on this pay-per-view, whether or not the matches deliver. And I'm always a big proponent of the fact that storyline and investment is an important part of getting the matchup over. Even if the matchup isn't the best thing in the world, the storyline is going to push that matchup over the edge. If you're really invested, every single blow, every single move is going to have a greater impact. And the perfect examples of that is one, Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. That matchup started off very methodical, very slow, and it clearly picked up later in the matchup, but that was a matchup where you weren't seeing the prettiest moves. They were hitting each other hard, and every time that they hit each other, I felt the impact. I felt the anger. I felt the hatred, and it added to that matchup. And if you want to even see an example on the main roster, just AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. At WrestleMania, there was no tension. There was no intensity in that feud. There was no disagreement there, and I really didn't care for what was going on there besides what we were going to see in the ring. That matchup that they had at the Greatest Royal Rumble, therefore, came across a lot better because Nakamura's heel turn and this added tension, this added actual rivalry to the feud has made it better because it feels like there's actually competition in the air. It feels like they're fighting for something. So, I mean, WWE, the storyline matters. And none of these matches have any storyline as if that even matters, because you think about it and realistically, what build are you going to have towards Backlash? Who cares? Who the hell cares? You got some good matches on this show and it could turn out to be good, but realistically, it's not going to turn out to be the same thing if you would have pushed this pay-per-view back, if you would have actually even pushed the Superstar Shakeup back. I mean, it would have come across a lot better. And speaking of the Superstar Shakeup, WWE so quick to tout that the Superstar Shakeup is being done to freshen things up. Oh, really? It's being done to freshen things up. Then why have we been seeing the same 6-man tag, tag team match, 10-man tag, 8-man tag, 9-man tag each and every single week on Monday Night Raw? And Smackdown Live as well, for that matter. Why is that the case? And that's exactly what's going to be the case if we continue here with this concept of Backlash and having all these pay-per-views mixed in together. I just hate it. I just hate it. And there's no hype. No hype. Nobody cares for this pay-per-view. And the only reason to watch this pay-per-view is to realistically see what happens, because it's going to be newsworthy. Any WWE pay-per-view is going to be newsworthy. There's going to be title changes. There's going to be ends of feuds, continuations of feuds. This is probably going to wrap up what we've seen coming out of WrestleMania with a lot of these rematches. So I don't know what the situation is going to be here. There are some interesting matches going on. Of course, you have Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns. Of course, you have Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles once again for the WWE Championship, which I'm expecting to blow the roof off of the place. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton for the United States Championship. That's a very interesting matchup. But on the flip side, you have a lot of predictable matches as well. The Miz versus Seth Rollins. That's absolutely predictable. Do you really see The Miz taking the Intercontinental Championship, where SmackDown Live already has the United States Championship as a mid-card title? Do you really see him winning it and taking the second mid-card title to SmackDown Live? It makes no sense. That matchup is absolutely predictable, and it renders not just the fact that there's no storyline, there's no build going into that matchup, but it renders the matchup obsolete as well, because it eliminates the unpredictability of a matchup like that as well. So that's my thought on that. A lot of things impacting this pay-per-view. And I mean, right now, you ask me how I think it's going to turn out, based on the way shows like WrestleMania, which had a stacked card, turned out, and ways on like the Greatest Royal Rumble turned out, which I had no expectations going into, and again, it was a stacked card. I mean, I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting anything from this pay-per-view. You ask me, this pay-per-view is going to be garbage. And hopefully it surprises me, but I have no expectations. I'm thinking that the Backlash pay-per-view in 2018 is going to be garbage. But that's my thoughts on that. That's my thoughts on the build. That's my thought on everything going into this pay-per-view. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to tell you guys to make sure to go check out all the other content before we go talking match-by-match analysis, everything, my predictions, what I think this match means for the future of the WWE. We're going to talk about all that right here on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. But before we do, I just want to tell you guys to make sure to go check out all the other content just this very week on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. Of course, we already had your Monday Night Raw and Smackdown live reviews uploaded, if I can speak here, after those two shows went off the air. You can't miss it. Go back and watch those Monday Night Raw and SmackDown live reviews. Of course, Behind the Mic is coming. I'm not sure if it's going to be out tomorrow on Saturday, but definitely by Sunday it will be up there on the Ringside Wrestling News channel. Behind the Mic, you can expect it in your sub boxes sometime this weekend. There's a lot of news coming out. Last week there wasn't so much news, but make sure to go check out Behind the Mic anyways. A lot of interesting news stories on there. Of course, you have that news story, Batista, if WWE doesn't contact him by next year, they went black on him. If they don't contact him by next year, well, Batista, he says he's done. Very interesting news stories on Behind the Mic, episode number 62 that was, or 63, I'm not even sure. But Behind the Mic is coming this weekend. Make sure to expect it in your sub boxes. But right now, I'm actually quite caught up doing this preview and predictions. But of course, this preview and predictions is leading to one thing, and it's leading to the review and results of the Backlash pay-per-view this Sunday. You can make sure to expect that in your subscription box. And the reason I keep saying your subscription boxes is, of course, because if you have not subscribed yet to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for, bro. Make sure to subscribe. Everything regarding the WWE right here on Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. You just absolutely cannot miss it, bro. Make sure to click subscribe to get everything right here. And if you want to take that a step further, because YouTube likes to be hasty with them subscription boxes, of course, make sure to click on that notification bell. You'll get notifications straight to your mobile device. Why wouldn't you want to do that, bro? Why not? And of course, make sure to leave some enlightenments in the enlightenment, if I could speak here. Holy shit. Tongue twister in the enlightenment box. There you go. That's a hard word to say. Enlightenment. Try saying that one 5 times fast, because I just did it. Holy crap. Anyways, make sure to leave some comments in the comments section below, or like I like to call it, the enlightenment box. Make sure to do it. Just make sure to be logical. Use your brain. Don't ask dumb questions like, if you don't like it, why don't you stop watching? Just don't ask stupid questions like that. Tell me what you think. What are your predictions going into the Backlash pay-per-view? If you don't necessarily agree with my predictions, you have the perfect outlet to leave your predictions down in the comment section below. Tell me, what are your thoughts going into the Backlash pay-per-view? Of course, make sure to like this video if you enjoy what you're watching here. And if you don't like it, make sure to dislike. I really have no cares. It helps me out either way. And if you want to voice your opinion, if you want to be the voice of the voiceless, make sure to click on that dislike button. I don't care. I'll promote it. But that's besides the point. It won't make me feel sad. I'm going to be like, oh, why is somebody disliking my video? But at the end of the day, I'm going to be like, whatever. At least it's some feedback. Any publicity is good publicity. I don't believe that necessarily, but that's just the mentality I have with that. Either way, let's run down the card here. We're going straight into it right here. We have a WWE Championship match on the show. No disqualification. AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which is hopefully going to be the main event of the show. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. SmackDown Women's Championship match. Carmella versus Charlotte Flair. The Raw Women's Championship match, Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. Intercontinental Championship match, Seth Rollins versus The Miz. United States Championship match, Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass. Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then apparently, I'm not sure about this, but they have some matches listed here. Whether or not this is going to be on the pre-show, or they're adding this to the main show, or they already did. Apparently, this is on CBS Sports. They're stating The New Day versus The Bar. Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship. And a 6-woman tag, you guessed it, or an 8-woman tag, holy crap. Sasha Banks, Bayley, Ember Moon, and Natalya versus the Riot Squad and Mickie James. And then WWE wants to wonder why some people are calling this pay-per-view BACKTRASH. That's exactly what it is. No one cares about BACKTRASH. Holy crap. Either way, this show, some noteworthy things are going to happen on it. I'm not going to cover those matches, the New Day versus The Bar, the Cruiserweight Championship match, and the 8-woman tag, because I'm not sure if those matches are quite confirmed. But notably enough, no tag team titles are being defended on this show here tonight. No SmackDown women's titles or SmackDown women's titles, SmackDown tag team titles or Raw tag team titles on this show. So quite notable. You already see the effects of WWE making all pay-per-views dual-branded, no tag team representation. It's not like it really matters because WWE got lucky this month and they had the Greatest Royal Rumble where the tag titles were just defended. But even then, already one pay-per-view and something's getting booted off. But that is besides the point. Let's start off with the first match here. And this one is a doozy, bro. Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Where the hell is this matchup coming from? What do any of these guys have to do with each other? Pardon me, but didn't we already see this matchup on Monday Night Raw? Didn't we already have to say that nobody cares about this random tag team matchup between four guys who have nothing to do with each other besides Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, but particularly Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley? What do Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley, realistically tell me, what do Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley have to do with each other? Braun Strowman just came off of winning the biggest Royal Rumble in history, the 50-man Greatest Royal Rumble. What do Greatest Royal Rumbles on normal occasions usually win you? A shot to challenge the champion at WrestleMania. Well, Braun Strowman's clearly not going to be challenging Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35 because it's April and WrestleMania has already passed, or it's May already at this point. But he should be saying, you know what, I won a Royal Rumble, I should be getting a championship shot. He should be going out on Monday Night Raw instead of helping Roman Reigns like what he did. WWE should practice some storyline continuity, and they should have had Braun Strowman go out and say, you know what, Roman, I won the Royal Rumble. You know what the Royal Rumble usually gets you, and that's a title match. I want my title match. I earned a title match. I showed how great I am in that Greatest Royal Rumble. I'm the number one contender here, and you are not the real Universal Champion. Brock Lesnar beat you not once, but twice. You should have never even gotten that matchup at the Greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view to begin with because you were a loser, and I'm a winner, and I want my championship shot. That's what Braun Strowman should be saying. But no, instead he's teaming against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with Bobby Lashley. For what? For what? I mean, Bobby Lashley is as stale as looking at grass, bro. Like, literally watching grass grow is more entertaining than watching Bobby Lashley in the ring. Watching grass grow gives you more charisma and it inspires you more than watching Bobby Lashley in the goddamn ring. Holy crap, this guy sucks. This guy sucks. This is one of the most least impactful signings that WWE has done in quite a long time. Bobby Lashley's awful. Bobby Lashley is absolutely awful. And I have absolutely despised. He's been a botch machine in the goddamn ring. I have no idea what this guy's doing, but it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yet you're teaming him with Braun Strowman in hopes of getting him a pop. This is absolutely ridiculous, no doubt about it. And, I mean, you look at the way that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been positioned. One, you look at the way Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley, before we get into that, Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley, these guys have been in 10-man tags, 6-man tags, tag team matches on each other's side all these weeks. All these goddamn weeks. They've been on the same goddamn team. Is that all you have for these guys? Are you serious? And then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn each and every single time have been on the opposite end receiving the L's. So what would be a nice change of pace here is to actually have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win. But do I think that's going to happen? Hell no. Bobby Lashley just returned to the WWE 1 month ago, and Braun Strowman's coming off of one of the biggest wins of his career. Why would you halt either of these guys' momentum just to give Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens a win? You know WWE's mentality. They're not going to do that. And that's ridiculous because, quite frankly, nobody cares about Bobby Lashley. And you're hurting more than you're helping Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn by making them lose each and every single week to these guys. One, Braun Strowman, who doesn't need it because he's already over as hell by himself, and he should be doing bigger and better things. And two, fighting Bobby Lashley, who nobody cares about. This is ridiculous. This matchup shouldn't even be happening on the show. We saw it on Monday Night Raw. Why is it happening? Why? Because you want to get these guys on the show, they're big names, and you have no other way without wasting time on this show full of time constraints. It's only going 3 hours. It's only going 3 hours is this show, and I thank the Lord for that because we've already seen so much goddamn WWE content this week. WrestleMania, 7 to 8 hours. The Greatest Royal Rumble, a whole 5-hour goddamn pay-per-view with a 1-hour pre-show. Holy crap. You had Raws and Smackdowns up the ass the entire month. NXT on top of that. 205 Live if you watch that. Any other wrestling in the biggest wrestling month probably of the year. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So thank God this show is 3 hours, but it's going to be tight. You got like 8 matches on this goddamn show. You're going to fit 8 matches into 3 hours? That's interesting, to say the least. Either way, Braun Strowman, Bobby Lashley is my prediction. This matchup has no impact going into the future of the WWE. This is a useless matchup, and believe me, I have no idea why WWE even bothered to book it on this show. But we move on to the matchup of Daniel Bryan versus Big Cass, and you know, I look at this matchup and all I can think is all the opponents that you wanted to see Daniel Bryan go up against upon returning from injury, that you wanted to see him go into a feud against upon returning from injury. And you look at names like Roman Reigns, Bobby Roode, AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rusev, Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, this guy, the next guy, Andrade Cien Almas, who's on SmackDown Live now, Samoa Joe, perfect example. All these goddamn names, and out of all these goddamn names, and let me not forget, the biggest one of all, surprisingly enough, The Miz. Because all the feud, all the build that there has been for that feud, whether it was on purpose or not, that feud has the potential to be one of the biggest rivalries in WWE that they have on television right now. But out of all these feuds, what do they choose to go with for Daniel Bryan? Who are they going to put Daniel Bryan up against coming out of WrestleMania, coming out of his big return to the ring? Big Cass? What? Where's that coming from? I mean, are you kidding me? That's who you choose. Big Cass out of all the people. Oh my God, you've got to be kidding me with that one, bro. But that's what WWE chose, Big Cass. And I understand why they did it. I mean, Big Cass is coming back from injury, and you want to get him in a role where you can get him heel heat. Not a lot of people remember what he was doing before. He broke up from Enzo when people were really down on Big Cass. He got injured, and some people were actually happy because of that, but he's back now, and they want to position him as a big heel, and I'll give it to him. He's been cutting some very good promos. He's got the look down. I'm not the biggest fan of his entrance music, but it's passable, and WWE has they put a lot of stock into making his presentation as well as they can, and Big Cass has clearly put a lot of effort into that as well. But this matchup is realistically going to be a buy or sell if you think about it on Big Cass as a singles competitor. This is going to be a make or break. You're in there with one of the most elite athletes that you can possibly find in this entire sport, and that is Daniel Bryan. So if Big Cass can't bring Daniel Bryan, or Daniel Bryan can't bring Big Cass to a good matchup, I mean, that's trouble. That is real big trouble in my book, at least. So hopefully this is a good match. Hopefully Big Cass goes on to have the success of a big man like, as of late, the most recent Braun Strowman. I'm hoping, but do I think that's going to be the case? No. No, I don't think so at all. I'm doubting him, and I want him to prove me wrong. I want to be wrong in this case, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this was the worst way you can go, and hopefully, what I'm just hoping is that this feud does not continue, because you don't know how much longer it's going to take. What if Daniel Bryan gets injured again? Don't you want to run through these feuds again before Daniel Bryan becomes injury prone, before you become scarce to clear him, if that's even going to be the case? Hopefully it's not, but if that does become the case in the future, why wouldn't you want to get the big feuds out of the way first? Why are you going with Big Cass first? It's just very, very uninteresting to me. So hopefully this doesn't continue. If you want me to predict what's going to go on here, I mean, it's going to be interesting, because do you really want to pin Daniel Bryan? Do you really want to pin Daniel Bryan? But then do you want to pin Big Cass? Do you want to take that momentum away from Big Cass? The big guy just made his return whenever the hell it was, 2-3 weeks ago. So, I mean, do you want to take the momentum away from Big Cass? What I think here is you either have a disqualification or count-out finish, or you can easily do the start of the Miz Daniel Bryan feud. Have the Miz interfere here and cost Daniel Bryan the win. Why not that? That'd be absolutely fantastic. So that's the best part you can do. I think if the Miz ending actually happened, it would further this matchup, which right now isn't looking like the greatest thing at all. But as far as this feud goes, not a lot of care for it. But then again, there's not a lot of care for this pay-per-view to begin with. So who the hell cares? We move on to a matchup which could, realistically, if these two guys decide to bring it on the night of Backlash, could be one of the best matches on this entire show. It is for the United States Championship, Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. This matchup is looking like a good matchup, bro. That's what's most intriguing about this matchup. The in-ring aspect. And that's what's most intriguing about this entire pay-per-view, the in-ring aspect. But as far as the build goes, I mean, WWE decided to play the same babyface garbage crap that we always see. Randy Orton came out and told Jeff Hardy that he respects him, and oh my god, it already sounds like vomit. And the only realistically interesting thing that you can have here is the heel turn of Randy Orton, because you look at Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy, I always go on this rant here, not a rant, but this discussion about how I just can't tell what's so magnetic about Jeff Hardy as a babyface, but there's just something that connects there that makes me want to dance along to his entrance music, that makes me want to do the moves and everything that Jeff Hardy does. It's just something magnetic, charismatic there that you really can't describe, because he's not the best on his promos. Yeah, he's great in the ring, and he's great high flyer, and the spots monkey addiction is real, but besides that, what's so magnetic about Jeff Hardy? Because the in-ring usually doesn't make the person, and that's been proven time and time again. But I don't know. Jeff Hardy's just this magnetic babyface, and I love him. I love Jeff Hardy. But Randy Orton, he just screams prick. He does. And that's why he's always been the most successful when he's a heel. That's why he's always been most successful when he's a heel. Randy Orton, you look at him up and down, and he's absolutely boring as a babyface. I am sick and tired of seeing Randy Orton as a babyface. At this point, you have to turn him heel. And against Jeff Hardy, you are in the perfect slot. So hopefully WWE goes that route. They teased it. They had The Miz going off on Randy Orton, mentioning how Randy Orton's sadistic. He's the Viper. He used to RKO people out of nowhere. So maybe that's what they're building to, and hopefully that's what this is, because quite frankly, a feud with Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton, even though we're seeing this matchup for the first time in 10 years, and these are guys who you go back to 2008, and that's when they were in their prime, realistically enough, or interestingly enough, that's the word. But, I mean, we could still see some good stuff from them. Randy Orton is one of the best in-ring performers in the WWE right now. And Jeff Hardy, it's safe to say, he's no slouch in the ring either. So I expect to see a very, very good match. This matchup can possibly even steal the show. But then again, this is a show with Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles on it. So you never know. But Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy, they can realistically build a great feud. And I was even going on this rant on my Smackdown Live review this past week about how even if both of these guys are baby faces, you can still develop a pretty great feud, because arguments, you think about it, and arguments start over the smallest things. And The Miz even brought up a great point on SmackDown Live when he was trying to get Randy Orton to turn against Jeff Hardy, and he was saying how, well, the Singh brother got involved in Randy Orton's matchup, and Jeff Hardy allowed his conflict with Jinder Mahal to get in the way of Randy Orton. And I feel like that's something they should have expanded on. Randy Orton should have been like, you know what, I'm mad about that. And he doesn't need The Miz there to say that. He should go out and say, you know what, Jeff, I'm frustrated with you. Why the hell would you goddamn do that? Why the hell would you allow your issues with Jinder Mahal to get in my way? And you should have Jeff Hardy say, listen, man, it's not my fault. It's not what I intended. No, shut up, Jeff. I'm absolutely tired of your crap. You keep interrupting me. I'm just absolutely sick and tired of it, Jeff. You know what? That's why your brother left you. That's why he's done all this wacky shit. You turned him into that. You are an evil. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of it, Jeff. And then you can have Jeff Hardy say something messed up as well, you should be like, you know what? That's why you were only United States champion for like 2 weeks. You've lost all your spark, Randy. And you can have these guys have tension, have blood, but nobody necessarily has to be a heel. Nobody necessarily has to come out there and tell the crowd each and every single week, you know what? I hate you. I mean, that's just so arbitrarian, and WWE is still going by this arbitrarian route of storytelling. And if they are going to start a argument over something small, if they're going to start a feud over something small, it's like pancakes or some crap. And it's ridiculous. I'm absolutely sick and tired of it. WWE realistically needs to not just write better storyline, but evolve the way their storylines are written and make them more three-dimensional, where if it's a heel versus heel or a babyface versus babyface dynamic, they just lose their marbles and don't know what to do. And that's exactly what this feud has demonstrated. We should have gotten a great segment between Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton with no Miz having to get intervened to be, I guess, the heat magnet in that segment. We should have had a great segment between Jeff and Randy, and that was not the case. That was not the case this past week on SmackDown Live. There's no investment. There's no build here. And quite frankly, once again, it's just going to be up to the match to get you invested. It's going to be up to the match to get you caring. So that's that. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton. I'm expecting Jeff Hardy to retain the United States Championship here, and maybe the frustration of losing turns Randy Orton heel. Hopefully that is the case, because I cannot stand, like I said, Randy Orton as a babyface. He is boring, and the only exciting thing that he has in his arsenal is the RKO out of nowhere. But quite frankly, for me and for anybody with the brain, I'm sure that this is not enough. Anyways, we move on here to this Intercontinental Championship matchup between Seth Rollins and The Miz. There's not much to say here. Clearly, Seth Rollins and The Miz, they've been intertwined. Seth Rollins won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania 34 in a triple threat match with The Miz and Finn Balor. And quite frankly, you've had Finn Balor, you've had The Miz lose his Intercontinental Championship, which pretty much made it so, which pretty much made it so Miz now has his rematch clause and he's locking it in at Backlash, which makes this matchup absolutely predictable, because clearly you've seen The Miz move over to SmackDown Live in the Superstar Shakeup, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying that this pay-per-view is predictable, and it's the ass end of everything we've seen in the month of April. That's exactly what I mean. This matchup is predictable because of that. So we know Seth Rollins is winning, because there's no way The Miz is taking, like I said before, two mid-card titles to SmackDown Live. It's just not going to happen. So Seth Rollins is winning this matchup, and it could be a good matchup, but quite frankly, is this realistically going to be something that you're interested in? Not quite. Not quite. The best, most interesting thing that WWE can do here to lift this matchup and make the ending more like, whoa, that was cool, is to have Finn Balor come out and assault Seth Rollins from behind and officially turn heel. That's the best thing you can do here, because Finn Balor, we can all agree, he's just as boring, he's just as stale, he's lost his balls just as much as Randy Orton has when it comes to being a babyface, and realistically, he can use that spark. And Backlash, if you want to put some hype on this pay-per-view as far as the ending goes, if you want to make this a good pay-per-view, the best of your ability, having Balor turn heel here is what I feel the best way to go about it, because it gets some spark on your mid-card, and it makes it so he's on the show as well, and it makes a matchup that is otherwise predictable a little bit more unpredictable. We move on here to the Raw Women's Championship match, Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. And who cares about this matchup? This is a rematch from WrestleMania 34. And quite frankly, the matchup was awful at WrestleMania 34. And I expect nothing different at the Backlash pay-per-view this Sunday. Clearly, the women have been feuding over nothing this entire time. A real feud that we should have been seeing at WrestleMania, coming out of WrestleMania, is Sasha and Bayley, and the very minimal things that they have done on television on Monday Night Raw over the past couple months, I guess you can say. They've proved that. They've been leagues and bounds better than what we've seen between Alexa and Nia, who have pretty much had a feud built on Total Divas garbage who nobody cares about. If I want to see overly dramatic, Divas era, garbage storytelling that's just based on crap that nobody cares about, then I can go watch Total Divas right now on the WWE Network, on the E Network, wherever the hell it may be. I don't need to see that on WWE television, but no, WWE wants to base this storyline on the bullying. Nia Jax has been bullied because she's overweight by Alexa Bliss. Nia Jax betrayed Alexa Bliss. She used Alexa used Nia. Alexa did this, blah, 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 blah. And the, I guess you can say, feud here has Alexa, she turns on. That's that's quite funny, but I'm not talking to you, bro. Either way, I lost track here. The matter of fact is that Alexa has turned the tables here, and she's saying that Nia Jax has bullied her because Nia Jax, they went to Disney World. Nia told them to get Alexa the kids meal, and then she laughed. She took a dollar from an old lady, whatever the hell it is. And I mean, WWE's done the right thing here. They've based the feud on the one strength that is shared, or that the one strength that is had by any of these women in this feud, and that is Alexa Bliss's great mic skills, and they focused on that coming out of WrestleMania. So yes, these moments of bliss, or these I think that's what they call it, moments of bliss segments that they've been having on Raw, despite being 1 minute, have actually been very good. But as far as what we're going to see in the matchup, I don't care. I am anxious to get this feud over with. As long as Nia Jax is feuding with Alexa Bliss, believe me, she is a terrible women's champion. Nia Jax should move on to bigger and better things, and that is the likes of a Sasha Banks. That is the likes of an Ember Moon. That is the likes of, maybe, I don't know, since Nia's a babyface, they'll put her against Natalya. I don't know. I have no idea what they do with Nia Jax coming out of this, but hopefully she wins and this is the end of the feud, because I cannot stand any of this anymore. This is boring, this is monotonous, and quite frankly, it is overly dramatic, and it doesn't need to be. But we move on here. Nia Jax, I'm saying, retains. We move on here to the Smackdown Women's Championship match. Carmella versus Charlotte Flair. And the story here, of course, has to do with Carmella cashing in her SmackDown Money in the Bank to win the SmackDown Women's Championship on Charlotte the night after WrestleMania. And everybody knows how stupid WWE's booking decision was there, because instead of having Carmella cash in at WrestleMania, they had her cash in on the SmackDown Live after WrestleMania, which cost Asuka her streak, when realistically you gotta had Carmella interfere, pin Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and everybody looks fine, because Charlotte won when she was in the middle of a match. Carmella took advantage. Asuka doesn't get pinned, and Carmella's SmackDown Women's Champion. That's easy. Best way to do that. But of course, WWE does not decide to go that route, and we've been plagued with cringy Carmella promo after cringy Carmella promo all these goddamn weeks. I'm sick and tired of it, and at this point, I'm begging, clamoring for Charlotte to win back the SmackDown Women's Championship, because as robotic as she is on the microphone, it's easy to state that you rather see Charlotte as Women's Champion, defending that title week in and week out, putting on some good matches. I'm not going to say great, because Charlotte hasn't put on a great matchup besides Asuka in a very, very long time, probably since her feud with Sasha Banks, but that's besides the point. She could be putting on some good matches. Meanwhile, Carmella, she's going to be annoying on her promos, and she's going to be putting mediocre matches on at best, because quite frankly, Carmella is nowhere near as good as anybody on that roster when it comes to the in-ring competition. She's decent on the microphone, or she's good on the microphone, but WWE quite frankly hasn't given her the outlet. They've made her an annoying heel, an annoying chicken shit heel. So, I don't know. I don't like it. Carmella, I'm predicting, loses the SmackDown Women's Championship here just for the sake of putting that bet on Charlotte. I'm absolutely tired of seeing Carmella with it, and it's only been like 2 weeks. Make Carmella an interim champion. Who cares? It realistically doesn't matter. Carmella was, at least I'm not expecting her to ever hold a women's championship for too long. If anything, I see her retaining because of the interference of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, the Iconics, who have debuted on SmackDown Live. So that's the only way I see Carmella retaining here. But I don't expect this to be a good match whatsoever. And, I mean, hopefully Charlotte wins and this feud concludes, because I'm sick and tired of whatever the hell we're seeing here with Carmella as your SmackDown Women's Championship. We move on to a matchup with actual interest on this show. Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe. And WWE, despite there actually being interest in this matchup, because it is Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe, I mean, they have completely killed a lot of the interest in this matchup, because you look at it, and Roman Reigns is not your Universal Champion. He's walked out of WrestleMania, and he's walked out of the Greatest Royal Rumble as a failure. They are fighting over nothing in this matchup. And you think about it, and why is this matchup even happening? Because Roman Reigns has, at least in my book, no momentum. No momentum whatsoever. He's lost to Brock Lesnar twice in a row. He should be in the back of the line at this point. He should not be challenging for the Universal Championship, and he should not be positioned in this way where WWE just is making him out to be this grand hero, because he's not. And every time Samoa Joe says the word failure in one of his promos, it just rings true so much, because that's exactly what Roman Reigns is, a failure. An absolute failure. And Samoa Joe has realized that. He's added that word to his vocabulary because it tends to be something that he actually thinks about Roman Reigns. But that is besides the point. As far as this matchup goes, it should be a good matchup. But when it comes to talking about this pay-per-view resembling a Monday Night Raw instead of an actual pay-per-view, besides AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, I mean, that's exactly what you see here. That's exactly what you see here. We've seen this matchup on Raw numerous times. We saw the tag team matchup between Bobby Lashley, Strowman, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens multiple times. Carmella versus Charlotte, Smackdown. Nia versus Alexa, Raw. Easy TV matches is what you realistically have on this show. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, another one that's actually pay-per-view worthy, but that's two matches. Two matches out of an entire show. Miz versus Rollins, TV. But, I mean, you look at this show up and down, Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns in this matchup. I want to see Samoa Joe win because at this point, in my eyes, Roman Reigns has no momentum. He's a failure. This Roman Reigns experiment is over. Who the hell cares? I'm done with it. And it seems like WWE's positioning Braun Strowman over Roman Reigns, hopefully. But that is besides the point. Samoa Joe, I wouldn't give him an L either. I'd actually make this, if WWE really wanted to have their way and they didn't want to have Roman lose, I'd make this an indecisive finish. Because you look at Samoa Joe, so much momentum cutting the best promos of his life against Roman Reigns. And I haven't even liked him that much because you listen to these promos and he's realistically putting over Brock Lesnar. He's saying Brock Lesnar's going to whoop you and then I'm going to pick up the scraps. That's the way they're positioning Samoa Joe. But he's so great that he's even been able to be fed those lines and he's still been able to make great promos out of it. That's just how great Samoa Joe is. But he has all this momentum, right? He has all this momentum and you're just going to kill it to give it to Roman Reigns? I find that so illogical, bro. I find that so illogical, and it's weird coming out of my mouth, but I actually think Roman Reigns needs a win. But does he need a win against Samoa Joe? No. No, that's the absolute wrong name to be putting against Roman Reigns. You want to give Roman Reigns a big win? Why don't you throw Bobby Lashley his goddamn way? Who cares? Lashley's dead anyways, just like Roman. Either way, this should be a good matchup. Whatever the finish is, I don't know. I'm saying that WWE should go with an indecisive finish. Actually, what I want is for Samoa Joe to win, but you can never bet against Roman Reigns. You can never bet against Roman Reigns. So my unofficial prediction is Roman Reigns. My actual prediction is an indecisive finish, and what I want to happen is Samoa Joe. That's my thoughts on that. But we move on here to the main event of this very, very show, and it, of course, is Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles in a no disqualification WWE Championship matchup. Hopefully this is the main event of the show. If this is not, I'm going to be absolutely fed up with this show. Probably by this point, I am going to be fed up in the show, but hopefully this does go in the main event, and WWE does not position Roman Reigns over them, because I can easily see them doing that. But hopefully Hopefully that is not the case, because Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles deserve the time to shine in the main event of a pay-per-view, and this is exactly the perfect place to do it. WWE Championship, no disqualification. These guys are going to go. It's going to be physical, and the heel turn of Shinsuke Nakamura has added everything that this matchup is needed. I mentioned it earlier, and it just rings true even now. The heel turn of Nakamura has added everything. It's been executed perfectly, and it's added everything that this feud is needed to this feud. And now not only do you have what is undoubtedly going to be a great matchup in ring, they were on their way to putting on a great matchup in ring at the Greatest Royal Rumble. They're going to complete that here tonight, and we're going to see it all out. No disqualification matchup. Chairs, ladders, tables are going to be imploded. They're going to be fighting all over the ring, and it's going to be great. It is going to be great, and now you have that investment there, so every single blow, every single shot is going to be like, yes, I feel that. I feel the emotion behind that, and that's just what that adds to you. The only thing that's realistically taking away from the impact that this matchup is going to have is that this is the third time we're seeing this matchup within the vicinity of a month. If you think about it, that's crazy. April 8th, WrestleMania. April 27th, Greatest Royal Rumble. We saw this match at both of those pay-per-views, and now we're going to see it again here at the Backlash pay-per-view. What is the May 6th, May 7th is that pay-per-view happening? I'm not even sure. What's today's date? May 5th. So that's happening on May 6th. So yeah, look at that. That's absolutely ridiculous right there. We're seeing this matchup for the third time, and that just goes to show you how WWE is overkill. I originally didn't even want to book this matchup on the Backlash pay-per-view. I would have saved this for Extreme Rules or whatever the hell it is, so you can extend this for the rest, because I want to see these guys fight all the goddamn time. That's how great they are. And I want to see this feud continue. That's how great it's been ever since Nakamura has turned heel. But that is besides the point. The matchup is happening, and realistically, this is one of the most unpredictable matchups on the entire show. Realistically, if you think about it, because Shinsuke Nakamura, you want to bet that Shinsuke Nakamura is going to win this matchup. At least I do. But and that's what makes sense. And that is what makes sense for Shinsuke Nakamura to win the matchup. But you think about it, and what's WWE going to do here? What are they to do? Because AJ Styles still has feuds to partake upon, and that was just seen this past Tuesday. Why the hell would WWE have had Samoa Joe come out and cut a scathing promo on Smackdown Live on AJ Styles, the WWE Champion, if they weren't planning to engage on that feud? And why wouldn't it be for the WWE Championship? What is Nakamura, and this is another argument, what is Nakamura going to do? You had AJ Styles, or you had Samoa Joe come out and confront AJ Styles, and that's a point for AJ Styles keeping the WWE Championship, because he still has stuff to do with Samoa Joe, and you're not necessarily going to see, as interesting as it would be, you're not going to see heel versus heel and Samoa Joe and Shinsuke Nakamura going at each other for the WWE Championship. So either that feud's going to be non-title, either this is going to be a triple threat going forward between Joe, Nakamura, and Styles, or Nakamura is going to win the title, because pretty much what else is there for Nakamura to do if he loses this feud? How many title shots has Nakamura gotten? He loses this one, and he goes to the back of the line, something that WWE's failed to do with Roman Reigns, but that's beside the point. He failed against Jinder Mahal, and he's failed multiple times against AJ Styles now. This has to be the time that Nakamura wins the championship, at least in my eyes. How many times is this guy going to lose? How many times is he going to get the championship opportunity? It's about time. And I think it's the perfect time to do that. I thought WrestleMania was the perfect time to do that. WWE didn't even decide to go that way there. So hopefully they do it this time. This heel turn has added a lot of momentum to the Nakamura character, and WWE should capitalize on that. Give him the WWE Championship. I think that would be a great idea. And you can pursue Nakamura versus Bryan going into the summer. You can pursue Nakamura versus Orton, Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy, whatever the hell you want to do. You can pursue it on SmackDown Live with Nakamura being WWE Champion. And he doesn't even have to be WWE Champion for that long. But I think it's time to take the belt off Styles, even though I wouldn't mind seeing it still on Styles, even though I wouldn't mind seeing a feud between Joe and Styles. Believe me, I think it's time Nakamura gets the belt, and I think Nakamura needs the belt at this point. Because I'm absolutely sick and tired of seeing Nakamura challenge for this title and then go to the back of the line, drift for a little bit. This is the time. He has the momentum. You built him correctly, surprisingly enough. WWE has written some good storyline, believe it or not. So it's time to capitalize on that. And hopefully they do. But for now, those are all the matches on this pay-per-view, Backlash 2018. I hope you guys enjoyed each and every single thing that you heard here. I am absolutely beat up and tired. Holy crap, this went way longer than it needed to. Those are your preview and predictions for the Backlash 2018 pay-per-view. Of course, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe, and of course, make sure to go check out all the other content on the Ringside Wrestling channel, because there is so much other content for you to go check out. Raw reviews, Smackdown reviews, pay-per-view reviews each and every single week. And speaking of pay-per-view reviews, there's one coming this Sunday. Preview and predictions you're watching right now. Behind the mic each and every single week. You're going to be watching it this weekend. So no better times to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel than now. Make sure to hit that subscribe button with everything you got. Natural selection. Hit it with the Code of Black or the Code of Silence, whatever the hell Carmella's finisher is. Kinshasa, phenomenal forearm, Styles Clash, whatever you got in there. Make sure to hit that subscribe button with it. Because for now, this is going to be all from Joel Perez. For now, I am out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I will see you next time right here on Ringside Wrestling.